What if you landed at an airport, handed over your passport, and were told your home country was a complete and utter lie? Imagine the confusion, the fear, the slow dawning horror that the world you knew, the place you called home, had somehow been erased from history. What if the customs officer looked at you not as a traveler, but as a madman or a spy? What if every piece of identification you had, your driver's license, your business cards, even the money in your wallet, was from a place that no one had ever heard of? This isn't just a campfire tale. The story of the man from Taured is documented in the journals of customs officials, a baffling encounter that defies easy explanation. Today, we're not just retelling a spooky story. We're looking at the evidence that suggests this man wasn't a liar or a prankster. He was a traveler from a place that simply shouldn't exist. It was a hot, humid day in July 1954. Tokyo's Haneda Airport was buzzing with activity, a gateway to a Japan that was rapidly rebuilding and modernizing after the war. The air smelled of jet fuel and new beginnings. When the flight from Europe touched down, a man stepped out who looked like any other successful mid-century businessman. He was well dressed in a smart wool suit, carrying a worn leather briefcase. He looked confident, at ease, and spoke French as his primary language, with a working knowledge of Japanese and several other European tongues. He moved through the terminal with the casual air of a frequent flyer. Everything was perfectly normal, perfectly routine, until he reached the desk of a Japanese customs officer. The man smiled politely, explaining he was in Japan for a business meeting, his third trip this year. In fact, he even had the stamps in his passport to prove it. But when the officer took the document and looked at its cover, his professional calm evaporated. It didn't say France, or Germany, or any country he recognized. The passport, deep blue with a strange crest, read Kingdom of Taured. Not a province, not a city, a kingdom. A place that did not exist on any map in the world. For the next 3 hours, the man was escorted to a small, sterile interrogation room. But here's the strange part. He wasn't acting like a criminal caught in a lie. He wasn't nervous or shifty. He was indignant, frustrated, acting like the victim of some massive, elaborate global prank. He calmly insisted he was a citizen of Taured, a proud European country with a history stretching back 1,000 years. To prove it, he produced a checkbook from a bank that no one could find a record of. He showed them a driver's license issued by a government that didn't exist. He even handed over business cards for a company he worked for, which had a supposed branch in Tokyo. But no such company was listed in any directory. The authorities were baffled. His story was impossible, yet he told it with such genuine conviction. That's when they brought out a large map of Europe. They unfolded it on the table and asked him to point to his home. He scanned the map, his finger tracing the border between France and Spain. Then he stopped, and his face turned pale. He pointed to the tiny nation of Andorra. With the voice shaking with disbelief and frustration, he told them that Andorra shouldn't be there. He insisted that for a millennium, his country, the Kingdom of Taured, had stood in that exact spot. He was so convincing, so genuinely distressed by this geographical error, that the officers started to feel a chill. They were looking at a man whose entire reality contradicted theirs. They began to wonder, if he wasn't lying, and they certainly weren't lying, then how was this possible? Unable to charge him with a crime they couldn't even define, the authorities made a difficult decision. They temporarily confiscated his bizarre documents and escorted him to a nearby hotel for the night. While they tried to figure out what to do, they placed him in a room high up on the 15th floor. It was a long way down, with only one window that couldn't be opened. To be absolutely sure he wouldn't disappear, they posted 2 armed guards right outside his door. His passport, the only physical evidence of the mysterious Kingdom of Taured, was locked away in the airport's main security office safe. He was, for all intents and purposes, completely secured. The mystery, they thought, would wait until morning. The next morning, at 8 o'clock sharp, The guards knocked on the hotel room door. There was no answer. They knocked again, louder this time. Silence. Using a master key, they opened the door and entered the room. What they found was even more impossible than the man's story. The room was empty. It looked as if it had never been touched. The bed was perfectly made. The man's personal belongings, including his briefcase, were gone. They checked the only window. It was still locked tight from the inside. The door had been guarded all night. There was no other way in or out. But here is the detail that skeptics and debunkers still cooey and explain. At that exact same moment, miles away back at Haneda Airport, the impossible happened again, when officials opened the high-security safe to re-examine the man's passport. It was gone. The Taured passport had vanished from a locked safe, inside a locked room. The man, and every last piece of evidence of his existence, had simply evaporated. So, if this man wasn't a ghost, and he wasn't a master illusionist, what was he? The case of the man from Taured has become a cornerstone for one of the most mind-bending ideas in modern physics. The many worlds interpretation. This theory suggests that every choice, every random quantum event, creates a new branch of reality, a new universe. Think of it like a massive, ever-growing tree of timelines. In our branch of reality, that small region between France and Spain developed into the Principality of Andorra. But what if, in another timeline, a different history unfolded? What if, in his reality, it became the Kingdom of Taured? Did he accidentally walk through a thin spot in reality? A momentary, invisible doorway where two parallel timelines touched for just a brief second in a busy Tokyo airport. It's a wild thought, but it would explain his genuine confusion and the validity of his documents in his world. And if so, why did the universe seem to pull him back and take all the evidence with him? It's as if reality itself noticed the bug in the system, a file in the wrong folder, and performed a system restore, deleting the man and his passport to correct the error. We live in a world that feels solid, mapped out, and known. We trust our maps, our passports, our history books. But the bizarre, unsolved story of the man from Taured is a chilling reminder that the unlikely is always lurking just beneath the surface of our reality. Maybe just one flight away. Was he a weary traveler who slipped through a crack between dimensions? Or was he simply the world's most successful con artist who pulled off the greatest vanishing act in history? We may never know for sure. And that's what makes this story so endlessly fascinating. If you suddenly landed in a world where your home country didn't exist, what is the one thing you would use to try and prove you were real? Let me know your ideas in the comments below. This is The Unlikely. Don't forget to subscribe to stay curious. I'll see you in the next reality.